While Girl Meets World may be continuing, middle school is over, and high school has clearly only just begun and definitely isn't something that any of the characters are ready to face. Hey guys, Cameron for the season premiere of Girl Meets World. Finally, we have the season premiere, Season 3, Episode 1, Girl Meets High School Part 1, and I was definitely really looking forward to this episode for many reasons. I mean, there has been so much talk about this season. They've been very low-key about it as well. Michael Jacobs has been very smart to not really release any footage or any clips. I mean, we got very minimal footage. The only footage we got was, of course, that scene where Lucas is telling Riley, I just can't be around you anymore. I didn't react to that because there really wasn't much to react to. I know you guys wanted me to, but I wanted to wait till this episode came out. And this episode, it did come out early. Of course, it doesn't actually come out till Friday, but I figured, you know what, I'm gonna watch it because I was really interested, and wow, does this show seem different. I mean, this really was a very somber premiere, I gotta say, but honestly, it really does show how bittersweet of a transition middle school to high school is and how scary of a transition that can be, and really the episode's all about embracing change, and I definitely really love that. And it also shows that when Michael Jacobs said, you know, he said it a while ago, that we're done with the silly little Disney plots. Yeah, there definitely are, because these plots are a lot more emotionally effective. There's a lot more emotional stuff that people can relate to, and it's also a ongoing storylines. There are ongoing storylines in this episode. There's stuff I feel like that is going to be a big part of this season. But let's just get into this episode. There's a lot to get into. I love the way this episode starts out because it starts, obviously, Riley, Maya, Lucas, Zay, who... Zay and Smackle are part of the main cast, but they're not in the intro, which is really weird. I guess it's because they only wanted to have 7 people because of Boy Meets World, but Zay and Smackle are in fact a part of the main cast, but they're just not in the intro. They all enter high school, and Riley and Maya are sure they're going to own this place. They have this whole confidence and everything. Farkle tells Smackle he's glad they were together. It gives him a feeling he can only describe as stuck, and he says it lets him know the universe has order, and their existence is not just a coincidence, which is true, because Farkle and Smackle have never been together in the same high school. She's always gone to a different high school. They've been dating, but they've never been the same high school. And what's funny is that, of course, that scene where he sees 3 girls that looks exactly like Smackle, which makes her mad, and Maya asks Riley what happens if they don't own this place, and Riley says that won't happen to them. They then see 2 basketball players and seem intimidated, but Lucas assures them that they are just people in high school. He then sees a very tall guy named Thor, which I think is pretty funny, and Riley says that she's heard that even the best of friendships can come apart in high school, and that basically is the theme of this episode, that they really are worried that they're not going to be friends, and they're not going to be as close, and that things are going to get ruined in high school, and basically... Maya, she tells her that that's not going to happen to them, tells Maya to make a promise to her that no matter what happens, they will always stick together, and immediately the bell rings, and they're all separated, they're grabbing onto things, and Farkle is on the chandelier, says they're going to own this place, and right away you can really tell that they don't own this place at all. This is definitely someone else's territory that they've invaded, and that's very much how it feels like when you're in high school. And me personally, of course, I've been in high school for 3 years now, I'm a junior, I can relate to this episode very much, because the episode's really about how you're this little fish in a big city, and you really do feel the way. I mean, when you go to a new school, it feels really weird. It feels like you don't belong there. It feels like you're a social outcast, and you're trying to get used to that kind of surrounding, and that's definitely something they showed in this episode. It's a very mature themes, honestly. While this episode does have humor, it's a very mature episode, and that's something I really did like. Now, let's start with the new intro, because you guys just saw the new intro in this video when I, of course, showed the intro. I fucking love the new intro. I think the new intro is fantastic. I think it's even better than the original one. What I love about this new intro is that it's not directly copying Boy Meets World, but it is trying to pay tribute to Boy Meets World, and it's trying to basically show that they're trying more like Boy Meets World. They're including all the things that made Boy Meets World so great, and the show is getting as deep and as effective as Boy Meets World, and the characters are definitely getting older. You definitely do see that here. I really do like seeing that, and I think it was time to maybe update the theme song a little bit. I think it was cool they did that, and I definitely really do like the intro. It doesn't feature footage, because usually when shows feature footage of other shows, it means it's a sitcom, and I think this is trying to show this show is no longer a sitcom. In fact, this episode felt more like a dramedy than it did a comedy. I feel like that's really where we're headed towards. This is going to go more into a dramedy territory than a comedy territory, and I really did love that. So they all get up. Riley sees the name of the school, which is Abigail Adams, and says that they're Abigail Adams Patriots, and just as much a part of this as anyone else. And then we see 2 mean girls, Nikki and Francesca, come up to them. Now, they're going to play a big part in this season, obviously, and they basically set up the main conflict here, as well as Thor. Now, Nikki's played by Ashley Argota, which I'm happy to see she's doing other stuff. Of course, she was in True Jackson. She was also in Bucket and Skinner. Both not really great shows, but she's a very good actress, and they ask who they are. Nikki tells them to get, and Nikki immediately tells them to get in the hole, and Maya says they can do without the attitude, but then gets intimidated by them. Nikki says her new name is Spunky because that's exactly what Maya is, and Francesca asks who she is. Lucas stops him, tells them his name, tells them he's as strong as a horse, but he doesn't know how, and Thor makes it clear he's not with them, tells Lucas that when his friends say to do something, they do what they say, and they don't say no, basically. And Nikki says the hallway's for people who have earned it, and Lucas asks why they're doing this. Francesca asks if they want to hear the freshman song, which Riley is interested in, despite Maya telling her not to let them sing it. They sing it, then tell them that if they're a freshman, they go into the hole, and that's exactly what's happening. They go into this hole, and Zay's already down there, tells them it's not that bad, says he went there because he knew how this would go down, and Riley goes right down in the hole, and it really just shows how they're giving in to peer pressure. They don't really need to be doing this, but she goes into the hole because she has, we know has a reason for doing this. What I love is that eventually they do give the reason why she wants to do this, and they made it very clear why Riley wants to do this, that she is seeing something good out of this. And Maya says that they were kings. Nikki says that's over. They make Farkle come down. Lucas says they're not going to stay down there. That once they leave, they're just going to class. Francesca says that's what they want them to go to class, but spend free time in their hole because of what Maya says they're no longer kings. They walk anywhere. They walk anywhere they want, and they don't. And Lucas asks if it's because they say so, and Thor says it is. Francesca says that they'll know when to come out, and Nikki says that this is a service that they perform, and they don't have to thank them. Lucas says they won't. Thor says they will. Riley says that there's nothing. They wish them good day, and they wish them luck in high school. And basically, they're now trapped in this hole where a lot of the episode takes place. Lucas says he's sorry they're down there. Fargo says it's not his fault. Zay says he can't protect them, and he says he used to. And that's really what's sad here, is that Lucas can't really protect them in any way. Lucas is used to being the one to stick up for his friends, and here he can't really do that because he has no power against these people. They're older than him. He feels intimidated by them. He can't really take them down. You definitely see that here. So Augie's getting ready for school, and I'm like, oh, great. And Augie and Topanga plot to ruin this episode. But actually, it only makes this episode better because what Augie's going through, and Ava as well, is just as interesting and just as emotionally effective as what the core group is going through. We see he's getting ready for school, asks Topanga if there's a difference between first and second grade. Topanga tells him to stop growing up. Ava comes in, tells Topanga that her parents are fighting again, and right away we see this new change in Ava. Ava is no longer this bitchy, girlfriend of Augie that Topanga can't stand. If anything, she's much different now. She's actually a lot more, you can tell, affected by what's happening, and she's really maturing as well, which I definitely do like seeing, and it's a really different side of Ava that I'm glad they're doing, because we've heard this before, that her parents have fought and everything, but they really get more into in this episode. Ava gives Augie a contract to sign. Topanga reads it over, tells her he's not signing it because it says who gets what if their marriage doesn't work, and Augie asks what she gets, and Ava says everything. Augie asks what he gets, and Topanga says the boxes everything came in. Augie asks what she means by the contract, and she says she put the best 2 years of her life in this thing, and she does know where she's going to find someone else at her age, and Topanga realizes that this is not at all about Augie. This is definitely, there's more going on. She's been hearing things. Augie asks if there's a change, not mad at him, but it's something else going on in her life. She throws the paper at him because she doesn't want to admit it's true, and what I love about this episode is that the one problem I had with last year's finale, if you remember, is that Corey is following them directly to high school. It is not at all being treated in the Mr. Feeney situation. This is much different now because Corey really didn't want to, we realize, didn't really want to go to high school. And it's very interesting we see this here. Basically, he welcomes a class to world history, and the new girl, Marley, is really not impressed with him at all. Really not impressed by the way he teaches. Riley says to keep teaching about their lives. She'll come around. He talks about the Adams and how they always knew to stick together because every direction they turned was a brand new undiscovered country. Riley says she's an Abigail Adams patriot. Lucas asks how that is since they can't even walk in the hallways, and Riley says the seniors are more experienced than them and they're just trying to help, and Lucas says they're making fun of them and they're letting it happen and they don't even know their way around the school yet, and Riley asks if he just wants to throw himself in the place and just see what happens, and he says he does because that's what the normal thing to do is, and Marley says that she gets how Corey teaches her boyfriend and her get into a fight, referring to Riley and Lucas, which I like that she called them boyfriend and girlfriend, but you definitely tell that there's a situation going on here. The fact of what's going on with Lucas, Riley, Maya, it's not gone in this episode, it's definitely present, but it's not the main situation going on here. Other stuff takes precedence, and basically Especially when Riley tells Maya to fight just as much as her, and Maya asks why. She starts to do her, and Corey asks who misses middle school. It's kind of a funny scene, but it's sad as well just to see what's going on here. So we then go in the hole, and that is really when all the drama goes down, which is in this next scene, which I thought was fantastic, and really to show how much ballsier and also more emotionally powerful the show has really gotten. It's very clear what this hole represents, that it's not just a hole that they're trapped in because the seniors told them to go there. It's also the hole that is kind of turning their friendship apart. We see Farkle says that middle school is over, asks them if they can go home now. Smackle asks who wants a hug. Zay tells her to stop with that. Lucas says that it's not how he's going to live his life, his high school life. Riley asks if there's a good reason the seniors want him there. What if it's to teach them something? And Farkle says it's that she has too much faith in people. Riley says she has the right amount of faith, and she really doesn't think she's doing anything wrong. She feels the seniors had a purpose for doing this, and that they need to realize what that purpose is. And Lucas says he's going to look around, tells Zay to come with him, and Riley's surprised that they actually just left, and Farkle and Smackle leave too, leaving just Maya and Riley, who's realizing she's losing, tells everyone to follow her, and you can tell that Riley is still trying to be that leader she was in middle school, definitely. She's not really that leader anymore, though, you see. They see a sign of the Patriot, they sit down there, but then two cheerleaders tell them that they're in their spot. This is where they sit, they get up, and especially because this is like the bay window for Riley. You know, they always sit near the window. Riley asks if they sit in the window and talk about life, and they say that they sit there and they fix their hair, which I love the look on Riley's face, how much of an insult there is to her. I mean, it's hilarious. This episode is not without its comedy, which is something I will get into, is that definitely there is humor in this episode. It's not without it. And they see Lucas and they start flirting, and Lucas asks Riley and Maya what they want to be called. They both say girlfriend, and again, it shows the conflict they're going through. You know, it's not as present in this episode, but it definitely is still happening. And Zay introduces himself, says he's completely available, says that they're all adorable together, thanks them for being a distraction, and I love how Zay keeps saying, I'm available. I mean, it just shows how funny of a character Zay is. I'm so glad they made him a main character, and they say that they're all adorable together, thank them for being a distraction, till the football team comes back. Zay says he's trying out, and they say good luck to that. The team comes back, Lucas sees how tall and adult they are, and how not young they are, and Farkle and Smackle run back into me by the scientists. Thor asks if they think they're ready for the big time. Lucas says maybe not just yet, and basically you can really just tell how affected they all are, you know, how much this is all affecting them, that they really didn't realize how not ready for this they really are. They really do feel trapped here, they don't feel like they belong there, and that's something you definitely do see throughout this entire episode. So basically, because of all the drama that's going on, they decide the best thing to do is to go to Corey, because, you know, he's the one that always talks to them about their life problems, and Riley says this is all his fault. He asks what it is, and Zay says that things are going bad and they need someone to blame, and Maya says they've fallen on hard times. Lucas tells him to fix it. Corey claps for them, says wonderful performance, asks if they should begin again, says this time he wants to go first, and tells them that they did this, he was fine in middle school, could have gone on forever, talking about whatever he wanted, and they believed everything he said, but they brought him there, and he has to teach stuff now, and that is not why he got into this. You know, he didn't want to have to go to high school. They made him go there, and now he has to teach the high school students, and he really doesn't want to. It's a much different environment, and it's true, really. Middle school students are a lot different than high school students. Ask any high school teacher who's taught middle school, they will definitely tell you that. And Riley asks if we prepared them for this, and Maya says that they're not important and they don't know what to do, and Smackle agrees. And I love Corey's line, probably one of the funniest lines, where he says, you didn't even go to our school. I love that, because it does show that while Smackle's a part of this group, she can't really relate to a lot of the things they're going through because she never went to their school. And Maya says they're not kings anymore. Riley says the seniors are the kings, and Corey asks if they know why yet, and Riley says they don't know the reason yet. Lucas says they don't have a reason, they're just putting them in a hole, and Corey says that she's looking for the best in people. Lucas says to tell her to stop, and Corey says it's not so easy to protect them anymore. Corey says they need to see what they're dealing with, and they take him to the hole. He asks why they just picked them, and Lucas says it's because they're freshmen, and they think that they're easy targets. Corey says that there are a whole class of them, why just the 6 of them? And it's a good point that he makes, because I myself was wondering, why would you just pick the 6 of them? I mean, there's a whole other class of freshmen. Why just them? And Riley says because they said that they'll thank them, which Lucas again says that they're not. And Corey said this is on him. They were kids. He told them to always look for lessons in life. And he's trying to teach them, and now they're not kids. Now they're not kids. It's a day one in the bigger world, and they've asked him if he's prepared them for it, and his answer is, we'll see. I love that he's not really confident in knowing if he's really prepared them or not. But then we really get the big fight where this all goes down, and really shows how dramatic this show is willing to get, which I really appreciated. Now, like I said before, they released a teaser back when they showed this whole situation with Lucas and Riley and their whole fight going down. But I was gonna say, oh, it's probably not as big as a deal as we think. Disney Channel likes to tease things to us, but this really is a big deal, and it really is their first serious fight, something that Riley's not used to. She's used to little fights, but this is actually a very big, ferocious fight they get into, and I really appreciate this. We see Riley saying it's not just a hole. Lucas asks what it is. Then Riley says he doesn't have to get angry, and he says he is. This is not how he wants to start high school. He wants to be able to walk anywhere where he wants and try out for the football team. And she says straight out that he's going to get killed by the football team. And Lucas asks if she really means that. He asks if she'll put her faith in some random seniors she just met, but she has no faith in him. She says she doesn't think they're random, and she doesn't think anything that happens to them is random. She still feels there's a reason that they're down there. And it really just shows how positive Riley tries to be, but that positivity is really degrading in high school. I mean, they really don't want that. A lot of people that are too positive, you got to step away from them a little bit, because positivity, when you're a freshman, it's not really there. He says sometimes she's just too much for him. Maya asks if they can calm down because it's not who they are, and Lucas asks who they are. He walks off, and Zay walks off with him, and it's a really sad scene because you see that they're just not as close as friends they used to be. They're already going through a lot of things. A lot of things are happening to them that they never thought would happen, and while Riley's trying to stay positive, it's not at all a positive situation. This is a real problem, and it's something that Riley just doesn't really want to admit is a problem. It's something that she feels there's a reason why they're down there. Everyone else doesn't see that reason, and I definitely really did love seeing that. It really added to this episode and really showed how dramatic and how great the show is when it is dramatic. I've said it before, this show doesn't need to be funny all the time. This episode was funny in the beginning, but after this, it really does get dramatic, and I really appreciate the show for going this direction. Because again, the episode starts off with them really confident and then brings them to this, really makes it feel like it came full circle. I definitely really loved it, especially because we know there's a part 2. You know this is only going to get worse, and I definitely really did love that. Really powerful stuff. We see basically Farkle and Smackle leave as well. Smackle says that Corey's right. Riley does look for the good in people. Farkle says that she was a great leader in middle school, but she always made them believe the world loved them. But this isn't just the same world. She's not really there to lead them anymore. She can't lead them because they're all going in different directions. And Farkle says this one might not just love them as much, no matter how optimistic she is. She might just let them down a hole, and they walk off, leaving just Riley and Maya. And I love that Maya does stick by her side. Even though they're going through this conflict, they're still friends, and basically she asks if she still wants to know her. Maya says always. It's a very powerful scene. But then we get another scene that I think was just as powerful and just as profound, and something that I was very impressed with, definitely. Like I said, usually when episodes have a Topanga and Augie plot, I'm like, alright, this is going to be really pointless, I'm not going to enjoy it, because those plots are usually really dumb. Usually it involves Ava controlling Augie, or Topanga hating Ava, or something like that, but this episode doesn't go like that at all. In fact, this episode is probably Ava's most mature yet, and I really love that. The actress that plays Ava, I really thought she did a great job of this, because this is a very realistic situation. She goes to Corey and Topanga, asks if she can move in with them. It's only fair because they'll move in with her. Augie says someday, and Topanga asks if things aren't better between her parents, and Ava asks if this is her fault. Augie goes to her, says it's not. Topanga tells her that sometimes people just don't get along in the way that they want her to, and I love the way that Ava doesn't fully understand this, but that they're trying to make her understand this in the best way that she can. In the same way that Riley and Maya's friends, they're abandoning her, in many ways, Ava's friends are abandoning her, and I thought Ava's parents are abandoning her, and it's a very powerful scene. I love the way this was done. Ava says they don't love each other very much right now, and Ava thanks him for sitting with her. Augie says that she's being really grown up about this, and she says growing up is hard, and I love it. Topanga tells Corey that he's being a real baby about his situation, because it's not a huge deal, but Corey does not really like high school, and Augie tells Topanga that he misses first grade. Life was easier then. She says she's right there for him. Ava asks Corey why people fight. He says people grow, and when they grow, they fight like from first to second grade, or middle school to high school, or moms and dads, because they change too. And Ava asks what she does, and he says to hope for the best in people. He teaches that to everyone he cares, but even when it seems like she's standing in a hole, and she says he's a good teacher, he says Marley doesn't think so, and I'm sure we're going to see more of Marley. I hope we do, because I already really do like the situation going on there, because we've never really had someone outright dislike Corey as a teacher, and Marley does, and I think that's going to be kind of funny to see what happens between Marley and Corey, if these two, if he eventually gets into Marley's good graces, if she eventually does like him as a teacher, I don't really know. I think it's gonna be kind of funny to see, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that turns out, because again, it's something we haven't dealt with before, and that's something I really do like, is everything we're going through, a lot of stuff we haven't dealt with. And Topanga asks Corey if he's going back in tomorrow. He says he's gonna hope for the best, and she says to keep doing what he's doing. She's always been sure, except for more than 4 times, and I definitely really did love that. So Riley and Maya then say to Topanga's. Riley says that she can't think, and Maya says that she knows. Riley says they're not going to show up because, they always do homework together at Topanga's, and Maya says that they won't. Riley says they do their homework there every night together. Maya says they do, and Riley realizes that they're actually upset with her and that the fight she had with Lucas is real. This isn't just some little fight that is going to get solved in 30 minutes, and that's something I really love, is that this isn't a sitcom type fight. You know those fights on ABC shows or NBC or any kind of sitcom there is where they fight and then it's resolved in a few minutes, like Full House, for example, every episode of Full House ever, or Fuller House. Things don't get resolved quickly in real life, though, and that's something I've always loved about Boy Meets World, and that's something I like that Girl Meets World is doing. This is not going to get resolved within a couple minutes. There's going to be a lot more damage, there's going to be a lot more going on, and it's not going to get solved as quickly as they wanted to, and it's something that Riley really doesn't want to have to, realize, but I think she definitely is realizing here that this is not going to get solved as easily. This definitely is going to cause a lot more damage than she wants it to, and I really do like the way that that's going on. I think it's very interesting. She talks about how it's the first day of high school and they already have problems. Riley says that friendships can come apart in high school. She just never thought it would happen to them. And yeah, remember Riley said, this is never going to happen to us. She asked how stupid she was to trust people she doesn't even know. And Nikki says she wasn't too. We realize that Thor, Nikki, and Francesca are there. But we realize in this scene they're not really bad people. They actually do want to teach them a lesson. I like seeing that. Riley asks why they do this to them. Their friends left, and Francesca says that's what happens when people leave. Maya asks if they're following them now, and Thor says no, they're following them. They are in there all the time. This is their spot. And Nikki says they never noticed because they were in their own little world at the time. They were in middle school. They didn't really care about high school as much, and now they've realized it, and now they want to grow up and join theirs. They have to stop and look around more. Francesca says that's why they put them down there, and that tells them not to jump so fast, and that really is true. When you're a freshman, you want to hang out with the older kids because they're the ones that are more experienced. They always say, use the buddy system in high school. Honestly, no, you should try to make a friend that's closer to your age. Yes, it's good to make friends that are upperclassmen. I have many friends that are seniors and things like that, and then I know freshmen as well. There are a lot of people, there are a lot of different groups, and you should just try to fit in with people who you fit in best with. Don't try to be something you're not. I definitely love this scene. Basically, Maya says it's not okay. She doesn't believe in them, but she does believe in Riley. Even though they're saying that they're good people, Maya doesn't really see it that way, but she does in fact believe in Riley. She thanks them for coming. She says she hopes they find another project. They leave, and Farkle comes in, says he spoke to everyone, knows that they were all supposed to be there, but they're all just a little upset at her, and she says that this is how a real fight begins, and he says he thinks that they're actually in one now. She says that they're not the ones who made high school harder than they thought. He says that they're not the ones who believe in complete strangers. And Riley finally admits, I think, the reason why she wanted to be in that hole. She says that she believes in people. He knows that. She says that this shouldn't teach her not to. She says to tell them that it doesn't matter if he thinks staying in a hole is stupid. What matters is them, that they don't leave. And she's going to go back in the hole tomorrow. And she doesn't know what she's going to learn because she thinks she's going to come out knowing more than she does now. Because Riley really feels if she goes in that hole, she'll come out with a new hope, with a whole new perspective. And it's something that she really doesn't want to realize that it's not a bad thing. And she says she hopes she's making the right choice and that her friends will be right by her. And she's not going to regret going in that hole. She's going to continue to go in there even if no one shows up. And we see the next day they're in the hole. Riley's convinced the rest will come. They'll be there. They see Lucas and Zay walk by them, as well as Farkle and Smackle. And that's basically, they're all isolated. They're eventually going to get back together because, again, this is just the first part. Eventually something's going to happen in part 2. But I do like that this has affected them in a big way, that their friends have left them, and that it seems like things are really dire, and that it seems like the only people who have stuck by each other are Miley, I always say that, this is not Hannah Montana, Maya and Riley. They're the only two that stuck by each other, and then, Lucas and Zay, they stuck by each other, and Farkle and Smackle. Those two are the only ones. They're not as a group. I'm sure they'll get back together at some point, but right now they're really separated. You definitely see that. And then we get to what I think is probably one of the most devastating endings Girl Meets World has ever done. They've ended on sour notes, but never like this. yes, this episode is a two-parter, and yes, we've had two-parters before, but look at Girl Meets Texas. That didn't end on a sour note, any kind of on a hopeful note. This does not. This ends actually on a very sour note, and I appreciate the show for doing that. I appreciate the show for actually going in a darker direction, because we see right away Ava tells everyone that her dad left and that there is no hope now, because Topanga says she's sorry, she's speaking with her mom. Ava says it's so hard now. Augie says he'll help her, and I love how this little relationship that seems so silly at first is actually being treated like a realistic relationship. You can tell Augie really does care about Ava. This is no longer just Ava controlling Augie and her wanting things out of him. He's actually helping her in this situation. He's actually doing things for her, and that's something I absolutely loved, is that in this situation, when things are really bad, he's actually sticking by her. It shows that he does in fact care about her, and I really did love seeing that. Amazing stuff there. I just really love the way they're treating that. And Ava thanks him, but she says she doesn't know if he can. She asks who can talk to, who knows how to do this, and Maya finally comes down and says she just heard. And I love the way they related Maya and Ava, but it's not just the fact that Maya has gone through this before, and the fact that Maya's father, of course, abandoned her, and the fact that, she barely knows Kermit and everything. I mean, we saw Kermit in the one episode, but we know that Kermit has a whole other life, things like that. I don't think that's what Maya's talking about. She's talking about her friends leaving, and she talks about how basically, Ava asks her what happens next when people you loved all your life suddenly decide to leave, and Maya says that you sit by yourself for a while, try to figure out, she'll blame herself, but it isn't her fault, but she probably won't believe that though, and she'll think that she did something wrong, but she didn't. Tells her this isn't her fault, says most of all she stays with her best friend. She goes to Riley, who she basically says the same exact advice to at the bay window, and says people make their own decisions. Sometimes they decide to go away for a while, sometimes it takes time to understand why it isn't her fault, and it's kind of like Goodwill Hunting. The scene where it's like, it's not your fault, it's not your fault. That's what this reminded me of here. The way that Maya was kind of counseling Riley and telling her this isn't your fault. Again, it feels very mature. It doesn't feel like the first two scenes of Girl Meets World, and I definitely really did love this mature direction the show is headed. It's a perfect, very sad way in the episode, but definitely shows that things are not as simple as it used to be, and really just show how different this show is going to become from the rest of what we thought this show really was. So overall, guys, amazing premiere. Honestly, I was so impressed with this premiere. I thought this was amazing stuff. Really heavy dramatic territory, but really great stuff overall. I mean, there's a lot of really heavy stuff, and especially for a Disney Channel episode, I mean, younger kids, they're probably going to cry watching this episode. They're probably going, but they are going to take away learning something. And that's something I love about Girl Meets World, is that Boy Meets World always taught you something. Girl Meets World is doing the same exact thing. It's teaching you things. It's teaching you about high school. I mean, not all this happens in high school, but yeah, friends don't remain friends in high school. Things happen. I mean, people get more mature. People get, especially like, when sex and things like that comes into it, which I did hear Michael Jacobs say they might eventually dive into, but what people are thinking is that they are going to move the show to freeform, which honestly I think they should do in the later seasons, is move the show to freeform. But I'm loving this so far. I love that we are in this more dramatic direction. I love the way that is. I mean, it's heavy stuff, definitely, but for Girl Meets World episode especially, this isn't just this little show anymore. Before, a lot of people say this show's very childish and that's for kids, and I really feel that now they're trying to appeal to a new demographic. I think Michael Jacobs really does want to tell a realistic story about high school and show what someone could really go through if they were in high school and if they were going through the same situation that Riley and Maya were going through. And I really do love that. I like that they've all split up. I like that they aren't really talking to each other now, because that's very realistic. That is what would happen if someone was in this situation. And again, it's sad to see, but that's exactly what would happen, and I definitely really did love that. But let's talk about the whole Maya, Lucas, and Riley situation, because it's not a huge situation right now, but it is a big part of this. I mean, the fact that they're not talking to each other, the fact that everything's really gone wrong here, I mean, it is eventually going to become a problem. It's not a problem yet, but I do think as the show goes on, and as the season goes on, it is going to become a problem. And they did say that eventually Lucas is going to make a decision very early in this season, which I am looking forward to seeing what that decision might be and what's going to happen there. I really do love that they're diving into this more mature territory. I also love that the girls weren't mean. I like that they do think that they're doing the right thing. Even if they don't think they are, they think they're doing the right thing. They don't think that they're bullying them, which in many ways they are, but they are also teaching them a lesson. They're not just doing it for no reason. They are teaching them a lesson, and I really did like that. And I like that the show wasn't afraid to get very ballsy and actually tell some really sad stuff, like Ava's dad leaving. I mean, who would have thought that would have happened to someone like Ava? Who would have thought Ava, who was introduced to in episode 3, that annoying Ava who had the, Ava Morgan Stern entrance, is now Ava in season 3. This is a much different Ava, and really to show that all these characters are growing up. The show is changing, and here's the thing I really do want to say is that this episode feels really different. It doesn't feel familiar. It feels like we've seen these characters, but that they're different, and I feel like that's the point. The show is just as familiar as the setting is for our characters. It's supposed to feel different. It's supposed to feel strange, because it's a new, interesting direction. I really love it. I love everything about it, and I can't wait to see the rest of the way the season goes. Unfortunately, I have to wait till next Sunday for part 2, which really sucks, because I don't want to, but whatever, you know, we'll see what happens on that episode. I can't wait to see what happens on part 2. But hope you guys saw this episode. Absolutely loved everything about this episode. I can't wait for this season. I think it's going to be the strongest season of the show so far. Every season has felt, you know, a little bit different. And this by far feels the most different by the bunch. It kind of feels like a soft reboot in many ways. But overall, let me know what you guys saw this episode. Love to hear your thoughts on it. And we'll see you guys next week, which will be for tonight's episode of Outlander. I'm sorry I didn't get to review it at the normal time. I wanted to watch Girl Meets World. Then I wanted to watch Outlander. And I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.